And we are kind of back. Great Lakes State Football, episode 52. And where the hell have we been for the last year?
Drinking
I don't
beer.
know.
Been a lot of places.
It has been, it's been a long time. We have not done an episode. Last episode 51 was November of 2023. It was our state championship preview episode, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. We never did a follow-up episode, and then, almost 12 months has gone by. Before we get into that, though, we cannot forget to thank our non-sponsor. We no longer have a sponsor. Our NeuroPeak Pro sponsor was bought out, sold, whatever. So if you would like to sponsor us for a random video a year, we have no guarantee that we're going to give an effort to have videos in any sort of a pace or schedule, but we're back in the interim, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that was my stupid attempt at a joke referencing the NeuroPeak Pro sponsor. But anyway.
We technically still have them if you want to get your brains right. So
I guess I do. Yeah, I guess we'll have to talk even if I need to put the link in the description anymore. But yeah, so anyway, back to serious business. We have not done an episode in a while. I don't even think we've done much of any posting at all on any of our social media accounts. Why is that? Well, it's kind of a variety of things for all four of us. I can speak on myself, and then I'll let each one of these guys talk. On top of being a teacher and a coach and having a couple kids, I also took on the role of helping with our Athletic Hall of Fame this last year and launching it off at Grand Ledge again. We had not inducted an Athletic Hall of Fame class at Grand Ledge in 14 years, and we finally had a class this fall that included Al Horford, so that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, he did not show. His dad accepted. Tito accepted on his behalf, and the funniest part was the Holt student section yelling at him, and I think they thought he was Al. They were all yelling, "Hey, Al!" I swear that's what they were yelling at him, and he just waved, and I was like, "Good Lord!" I don't even know who Al Horford, like what he even looks like, I guess. But anyway, that's what I can speak on myself. Kory, what happened in your life in the last year?
Oh man, it's been a year, so still slinging candy with the best of them. So that was very busy, and then my wife and I had a child. We have a 2-month-old daughter.
Woo! Welcome to the now. Father Club. Woo!
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm a dad now, and that eats up a lot of time, and I feel like between work and that, I just need a nap all the time. So that's where I'm at in life.
Brett?
You sound so excited, Kory.
I'm tired. I had the graveyard shift the last 2 nights, and then Emmy was a terrorist to bed tonight. So.
Welcome to the club.
Well, yeah, just wait, baby. I as well had a child. I gave birth. No, I didn't give birth, but we had a daughter born in April, so I now have 2 kids, 3 and under. Also, I have a job now. I'm not full-time Great Lakes State Football. No, I have had a job, but my job is a little more demanding now. I have meetings a couple nights a week supporting customers around the globe, so it's been tough to hop on the call, but happy to be back.
Tate Baker.
I have had a busy year myself. Been busy peddling vacuums. If you need one, reach out. I'll be happy to hook you up with a Bissell. But besides that, just lots of travel. I think I've traveled more in this year than I have in the last probably 5 to 10 years combined. So it's been a lot on the go, but it's been a lot of fun, and I'm more than happy and excited to be back with you guys and talking some high school football.
So it's been very interesting and busy year for all of us, and thus the absence or the silence just kind of completes. Not even an announced hiatus. I suggested to these goofballs back in the spring or beginning of the summer. I said, especially after Brett and Kory had their Brett's second kid and Kory had his first kid, and I was like, should we post something that we're probably gonna be on hiatus? Like, nah, we'll do an episode soon. And then 3 or 4 more months went by, and I was like, oh man, we should have posted something. But anyway, so for anyone out there who really cares, I'm sure there's many people who don't really care, but that if you did care, that's why we're kind of gone, hiatus, absence, a lot of stuff going on between all of us here. So anyway, we are back with an episode tonight, or when you watch this, listen to it, it will probably be, we are recording this on a Tuesday night. This will probably be posted. My plan is to have it up on Thursday as the playoff preview, the 2024 MHSAA football playoff preview episode, so that you can check it out. Our thoughts, whole 24 to 40 hours before the playoffs even start. You have some time to listen and or watch, whatever your viewing or listening choice may be. We are also going to be bringing on Mr. Cannon Dean, or Goosepoop, Mr. Poop, as Kory likes to call him, who we have had on, I think, for maybe every playoff preview. Definitely. This is what's crazy too. We were just talking. This is the fourth straight year that we've done Michigan high school football playoffs, whether a preview, state championship talk, things like that. So I think Cannon has been on for, this would at least be the third straight one. I don't know if we brought him on for the first one in 2021, but we definitely brought him on.
That was me.
Oh, that's right. Brett was the guest before he officially joined the pod. So I think this would be the third straight one we've done with Cannon. 2022 might have been the first one. So excited to do that with him. So we'll have him on here shortly. We'll talk with him about his hiatus. So he's been very busy with his new company that he's been working on. Really also has not been posting much, like he normally does to Instagram, and his newsletter kind of has hit the back burner as he's also been very, very busy. So we'll chat with him about that, and then we'll get into our discussion on the playoffs, whether it's we're going to talk a little bit of a playoff preview, kind of some of the different districts and divisions, and kind of anticipation for what we think may happen, and then we'll get into picks. We'll pick some semifinalists and champions for each division. So that's the plan. That's what we've done for 4 years now, but no promise that we will have an episode soon after this one, so enjoy this one while you got it. We'll see. We were just talking. Maybe we get bored as the winter months come up now that things kind of settle down, slow down in the winter months. You're stuck inside a lot more. Can't do as much fun stuff with the family and the friends outside. So maybe we'll get into some more episodes here as we wind down.
I got a feeling we're gonna have some Lions football to talk into maybe early February as well.
I hope so.
Super
Bowl
that
preview.
there was not a trade announcement today. What the frick are we doing? I didn't even swear. See, that's how much.
It's been a year, and you're
you are very
censoring
hard to hear.
yourself.
Sorry, I was talking quiet. But yeah, I don't know how we didn't make a trade this week. I'm upset about it.
Hey, there's still time.
All in time.
In due time, baby. Dan Campbell doesn't sleep. It could be 2 a.m. Give you something good to wake up to.
Brad Holmes sleeps though, and he's the one that makes the trade.
In Brad and in Dan and in Sheila, we trust. At least I
We
trust
just
them.
don't have a DN on the roster. It drives me crazy.
They'll get it figured out. I trust them, I believe. All right, fellas. Anything else to add? Otherwise, I think we will get into chatting with Cannon here.
Let's do it.
All right.
Mr.
Well,
Goosepoop.
ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring Mr. Dean, Mr. Poop, Cannon Dean, or a.k.a. Goosepoop, on here shortly, and we'll be chatting with him about the high school football playoffs in 2024. Enjoy. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here with our 2024 MHSAA football playoff preview, and we have on with us a very special guest, our favorite guest, our probably only repeat guest, I believe. There might be one other repeat guest on there, but this man has been on many, many times, and that is Mr. Cannon Dean, a.k.a. Goosepoop. How are you doing, sir? Welcome back.
Doing really well, guys. Even better. We're back. Been a long hiatus for a lot of people, including myself. So I'm excited to be here, guys.
We just went right around the group here in our introduction and talked about why we've been gone for so long. Would you like to, plug any of the Goosepoop stuff or talk about Goosepoop a little bit here before we get going?
Yeah, I apologize for people. I didn't really announce that I'd be kind of doing less this year, but I've just been trying to find a happy medium with the content. I've been trying to write less formulaically and more kind of shooting from the hip. So hopefully you've seen that in the stuff I've been writing. Just trying to do stuff that do it so I have energy, and so the content I make is stuff you want to read and not just kind of the same formulaic rankings every week. So that's been the goal. Part of that was part of that goal was making the whole website free. So if you go and click predictions on the taskbar at the top of my website, you'll see basically all of the data the computer model can throw at you. I really think that's sweet. I made it free because I think everybody should be able to check it out. So hop on over there and check that out. That was one of the big goals I wanted to get done this year, and that's not done. So yeah, that's my 2024 story, Vince.
Well,
I'm proud of you.
we're just glad you're doing
Take
well.
a step away.
Hey, don't feel bad. Like we were already talking about here, we didn't really announce anything either. We just kind of disappeared for 11 months, and then a week ago, I put a little picture on Instagram and Twitter that said "Update: Where have we been?" With on Instagram adding "It's been a while" by Stained, which, as we joked, I don't know if anyone under any of the high schoolers that follow us would get that because they weren't even alive when that song came out. But anyway.
It's probably like a TikTok song or something like.
I'm sure they saw it on TikTok. Yeah, I'm sure it's somewhere on TikTok. Yeah, I'm sure it is. All right. So Cannon, if you want, before we get into kind of discussing the 2024 playoff field here, and we will make state championship predictions, semifinalists and state championship predictions for each division like we have done the last couple years. Do you have anything you want to add on your model this year? Obviously you haven't been quite as active with posting like your spreads and your predictions, week to week. I think you posted them in September a little bit. Is there anything, I don't know. I haven't been checking your website as much this fall as I have in the last couple of years. I don't know if you'd been posting anything on your website in regards to the model, but if there was anything you wanted to discuss in terms of where it's at this year, how it's faring. There has been some crazy upsets this year, so I'd be curious to know, like Rockford getting beat by Jenison. There's been, some games like that. Brother Rice, I think, pulled off an upset over, was it De La Salle? Brother Rice upset someone this year too. I don't remember who it was, but anyway, I didn't know. There's just throwing out a couple examples, but
Yeah, I didn't do any tweaking to the math. It's kind of the same model that it's been. So I don't have anything to share there. One thing, you brought up the OK Red. One thing that was interesting is I usually do a cut of rankings in week 3 and then kind of drop them in week 4. So week 3 is kind of a sniff test, where they're fairly accurate, but not so accurate that I won't get crazy questions on Twitter, so I don't drop them then. And in week 3, the computer had already identified that Hudsonville was the team to beat in the OK Red. And so
Wow.
I thought that was kind of strange. I was like DMing with the guy who does the Pick'em, Sean, the Pick'em contest on Twitter. And we like to DM about the computer model. And I was like, man, this is kind of crazy. Hudsonville is the number 1 team in the OK Red. I kind of don't buy that, And at that point, Rockford hadn't lost yet. So, but that was kind of interesting. Should have trusted my math there. Other than that, I don't have a lot to say. I'm excited. I'll just say this as we go into. I think we're going to go into picks after this or something like that. I put out a tweet yesterday that of the computer's favorite finalists, and so as of today, I put out the finalists, the favorite in each division, and the expected probability. If you sum up all those expected probabilities, you get 3.14. In other words, computer expects of the favorites 3 to actually deliver and win it.
Okay.
Let's over the next 5 weeks, let's track that. If we do a show before the finals, let's do that and see how much we're in position to act. Is the computer actually going to deliver on that promise? Are we going to actually call 3 state champions from the outset of the playoffs?
And I think I saw that tweet. I think the Division 3 matchup was DeWitt and Walled Lake Western, which had the highest probability of happening, according to your math, or the computer's math. It was like almost 40%, right? Chance of that matchup happening.
Yeah, kind of crazy. It's either that bracket's kind of strange. We'll see if it shakes out that way. I think it's a very good possibility that it's either. I think if you sum up DeWitt and Walled Lake Western or DeWitt and Mason, you get like 80% of the scenarios. So I think D3 is kind of like this.
Yeah, it's crazy that DeWitt and Mason got split up this year. One went west and one went east. I think that was in Division 3.
Yeah, well, I was joking with Snooze. Do you guys know the origin story of Snooze's mapatology, or like part of his origin story? I don't want to speak his own origin story.
I feel like you've told it, but I can't remember.
I feel like I saw him say something online once, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
So I don't want to speak all of why Snooze created his website and inspired us all, but
Snooze, for those of you who don't know, for those of you listening, maybe if you don't know, Cannon's referring to Snooze to You, which if you have not ever used that website, definitely should check it out. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter. Snooze to You, SNOOZE, the number 2 YOU. He does a lot of really cool stuff with high school football in Michigan. Yeah, he's awesome. Sorry, go ahead, Cannon.
Well, so part of the reason Snooze made mapatology was one year there was a Division 4 final between Zeeland West and Coopersville. And so, like, that's just kind of strange that could ever happen, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so I think part of that was like, okay, well, we need to kind of map these things out and really see how the districts are being drawn and that sort of thing. So I know that's at least part of Snooze's story. And so I was joking with him when I saw these numbers, exactly what you're saying, Vince, that, wow, the second most likely D2 final is actually DeWitt and Mason. And that's just kind of, it's a little bit less strange because, DeWitt and Mason are exactly in the center of the state roughly. So,
yeah,
that makes a little sense, but also kind of strange still. They played already. They're both in the CAAC, or at least I think they're both in different divisions of the
different divisions, but yes, both CAC.
And like meeting again in the finals, like that's kind of strange. So could happen. Could have another mapatology scenario on your hand.
They're almost identically apart from Lansing too. They're both like 15 minutes from Lansing. Which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
South.
Yeah. If you look on the map, it is kind of interesting to see them. They're split. Like DeWitt is on like the slightly northwest side of Lansing, and then Mason's on the southeast side of Lansing. So it is kind of interesting to see them on the Snooze map, But anyway, continuing on here, then getting into maybe a little bit more specifics with this year's 2024 playoffs, and Cannon, if you want to jump in, but anyone can jump in here. If at this point, if there's any first round matchups that are intriguing or stand out to anyone, I know that every year it seems that there are districts where you get teams due to their geography and the way they do the districts where it's like it's really crappy either for one team or great for another team, or you got two really good teams that get matched up in the first round sometimes. So I don't know if anyone right off the top of their head, if you guys have a district, whatever division that stands out to you in terms of early matchups here.
I talk about that Division 2 Region 1 with Byron Center and Northview. Northview having their best year ever, I'm pretty sure.
In more than 50 years.
And Byron Center has been a powerhouse the last few years, so it'll be a tough matchup for Northview.
Yeah, 8-1 and 9-0 first round, absolutely.
I think that's a great call. Another one I'd add is I'm pretty sure, I just confirmed it. Niles and Paw Paw have to play for 2 straight weeks, and I have them as both top 4 teams in D4. So it's just kind of like that's actually one of the worst draws.
That district has 3 8-1 teams in it.
Yeah, so
it's also got Edwardsburg. It reminds me of that D8 district last year that had Fowler, Ithaca, and what was that last year? It was Fowler, Ithaca, and one more school. There was 3 8-1 or 9-0 teams all in one district last year. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, so that's a crazy hard district with all 4. All 4 teams are ranked in the top 10 of D4, so ridiculous. But like to have to play a team twice in a row that is top 5 team is just kind of like that's a ridiculously terrible draw.
It's a tough task. I always wonder with when you're an undefeated team and you end your season on a close win, does that make week one of the regular or the playoff like more daunting? Not that you obviously wouldn't want to lose your last game or one game along the way, but you guys can probably speak a little bit to it of based on your own time. Back at Grand Ledge, being undefeated and going into the playoffs, I guess like what goes into that like mindset of, you're undefeated, you've battled each week. Do you kind of have to like forget that at the door when you're going into the playoffs, or like kind of how does that like kind of work on the mental side of things going into the playoffs, which is obviously a whole nother season.
I can tell you first off, when we went into the playoffs, we're like, oh shit, we gotta play.
I know what Brett was
We're going D2. We gotta play Lowell right away.
The defending state,
state champs, and at the time, Lowell was a really good team, but Lowell had a key injury. One of their running backs was out, and we didn't have any tape on him. And his first game back, fullback, you might remember his name, Gannon. His first game back in like 3 or 4 games was against us. And the first or second play of the game, I'm playing safety, and he just barrel rolls Vince and runs
was a
right
tank.
at me for like
that kid was a
15-yard gain. It was
Leighton Watson.
Leighton Watson. Yeah, that's the name. I don't know. I think you're always nervous. You're undefeated, but you're confident at that point too. But you're most cases.
Kory experienced. Yeah, Kory, you were undefeated your junior year, our sophomore year too.
I was gonna say I remember playing Rockford, and I think the biggest shock was when we threw a pick 6 on our first possession, and that was like we hadn't really been down. So when you get to that point, you're like, oh Jesus, this is gonna be a little bit different. And then it ended up getting the shit beat out of us for 4 quarters. But
was it the first play of the game, Kory, like a muffed kickoff, and Rockford scored, and then we got the ball back, and then threw a pick 6, and we were down 14-0 in like 2 minutes?
I don't remember the muff kickoff. I just remember the pick 6 because there were so many Rockford people. I slid right to do the pass pro, and I heard the eruption of the crowd, and I thought it was our crowd, but it was actually Rockford's crowd. That's how loud they were.
He was walking into the end zone.
Yeah, and there was nobody near him. He just walked in.
Speaking of 9-0 teams, I had another district I just wanted to mention here, and if anyone else has any other districts you want to dive into, but in Division 6, the only 2 teams in Division 6 who are 9-0 in the entire division are in the same district. So you got Almont and Chesaning. The only 2 9-0 teams in that entire division are the 1 and 2 seed in Region 2, District 2. Lansing Catholic and Ovid Elsie round out that district. So I feel like that's a tough district too. I mean, Lansing Catholic obviously had a lot of success over the last 10 years, and Ovid Elsie's been pretty good over the last couple of years. That's a district that stands out to me in Division 6.
I think it's interesting. In Division 2, you got Portage Central playing their rival, Portage Northern, and then you also got in Division 3, Zeeland West playing Zeeland East. I think historically Zeeland West has been a Division 4 school, and East has been D3, so they haven't had to face off in the playoffs, but nothing like playing your rival back-to-back weeks. And Zeeland West and Zeeland East actually share the same football field, so they're both on their home turf for that game.
I bet the whole crowd or the whole town will be at that one.
Oh, I'm sure.
I will still say till the day I die that it's damn near impossible in high school football to beat the same team twice. It is hard. Yeah,
and then you got in D3, you got Forest Hill Central playing East Grand Rapids back-to-back weeks.
And if anyone else wants to jump in on any districts or whatever, like hard districts or districts that stand out, but I just want to throw out there because I was thinking about this again this week. Because someone, I can't remember how I got in the conversation with someone or down a rabbit hole of how in 2020 when everyone made the playoffs, and I'm still against that. I don't think in high school football everyone should make the playoffs. You have too many teams that at that point are so beat up that are 0-9 or 1-8 and 2-7 that when we did that in 2020, the number of blowouts, there was just so many blowouts. It's just bad football at that point, and those teams should not be in. It should just be over. I like the idea that you earned to get in. But the one thing I did like about the 2020 playoffs is that they seeded the region. Right, or it was technically it was a district. They were districts, but there was 8 teams. So just the idea that if you did it that way, how much better in terms of matchups and fair matchups you would have if instead of having these 4-team districts, if you look at these regions, if they seeded them 1 through 8. And now you're still geographically, I know there's some that would get into distance, but for the most part, a lot of them still wouldn't be going that far away. I know once you get into some of the smaller divisions and you have the UP involved, that gets a little bit tougher in terms of some schools are driving. But dude, in just the districts this year, look at District 1, Region 1, and Division 3. Look at how far some of those schools are going to have to go, and that's just in a district already. So, I mean, does it really matter? I don't know. I think seeing the regions would make more sense, but...
I mean, you take your point, Vince. You have the same 4 teams in the same region. You just added 4 other really bad teams. So they're all going to play each other, most likely.
Yeah. Division 1, Region 1 is tough. Hudsonville and Howell both coming out of there. And then you got Rockford just with their history. I think that's going to be a tough region.
I'm really, I know we're kind of getting into surprise teams, potentially changing topics, but I'm really happy to see Kalamazoo Central make the playoffs. Historically a basketball school. Hasn't earned playoff berth since 2018. Given 2020, everybody made it, but it's cool for Kalamazoo. I know Kalamazoo historically the area has had pretty good football in the last couple of decades. It's really gone downhill, primarily because of enrollment.
Yeah, it's only their 5th earned playoff berth in school history, so that is pretty cool to see. And they had to beat Loy Norix to get in. The wild part about that it's funny you bring that up if we want to get into, surprise teams in the playoffs or, teams that stand out. The interesting part about Kalamazoo Central is they lost to Jenison week 1, 14-0. And Jenison and Kalamazoo Central were the 32nd and 33rd team in Division 1 in terms of playoff rankings. So Jenison beat Kalamazoo Central and missed out on the playoffs by 1 spot to the very team they beat week 1. So that was rough for Jenison. And I believe Cannon was Chelsea's former head coach. That's the new head coach right. At Jenison.
Yeah, Josh Lucas was the coach at Chelsea last year. And this is here at Jenison.
They missed the playoffs by about a half a point.
Yeah, and I need to go and do the deep dive because I had Jenison.
Less than half a point.
It wasn't an automatic in. It was like 60% going into the last week. And a lot of that was tied up in beating Grand Haven. And then they still missed it. And so my wasn't off, but there was something in there.
Something happened. So something happened too, because I checked the playoff points, and I know that games get, scores get updated and submitted, and the playoffs populate as the playoff points populate as the scores get updated and corrected. But at one point, it was reversed, and this was late Friday night. I want to say at like 11 o'clock at night or something. It was Jenison was in at 32 and Kalamazoo Central was out at 33. And both of their games had already been submitted. So someone that they played against, either Jenison or Kalamazoo Central, someone else's score got submitted super late because Saturday I woke up and checked again and they flipped. So I don't know what game it was, but there was a game that just barely made that happen. And my guess,
West Ottawa getting smacked by Hudsonville.
I was going to guess it was because someone they beat lost, so they didn't get their points.
They were West Ottawa's only win this year.
Yeah, so they got no bonus points from West Ottawa, right? Which that to me is the game that kept them out. Obviously, if they beat them at 5-4, they would have been in. But would have been wild if Kalamazoo Central, this is another little interesting fun fact, would have been wild if Kalamazoo Central did not get in, because it would have been the first time under this new playoff system that a 6-win team missed the D1 playoffs. So Kalamazoo Central keeps that alive, that a 6-win team has not missed.
Another fun fact that we were looking at last week that didn't happen was Marquette was 6-2 going into last week and had the opportunity to beat Kingsford. Now they lost, but had they won that game, I still think they would have missed the playoffs, and they would have been the first 7-2 team to miss the playoffs. Which
is that what division is Marquette? D2 or D3?
I don't know. D2 or D3. I think they flip. So I think it may be D3. But like, it just doesn't. A 7-2 team missing the playoffs just doesn't feel right. There's something wrong there.
There's something wrong there.
There's a couple of 3 and 6.
They're D2,
teams
so
too in
they're
playoffs
D
this
and
year.
2.
Yeah.
They're D2.
My neighbor's mowing his lawn right now.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
At 10:30 at night.
You see that little light out there?
I see it moving. Oh my god, 10:30 at night. That's hilarious.
I heard a ruckus out there. I thought it was
I know-
animals for a while, and I look out and I saw his light. Neighbor Jeff, that's crazy.
Dedicated to the
crazy-
game.
Another crazy region is D1 Region 2 with Belleville and Saline, who, if they didn't have to forfeit, would have been 9-0.
That's
And
true.
DCC
They're
9-0.
technically 9-0 on the field. Celine is
Yeah.
9-0 on the field, 6-3 on paper.
There
That
were
is
three
true.
undefeated teams in that. Well, I guess Belleville technically is 8-1, but
Right.
they might as well be undefeated. Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, they lost by 1 point to Howell. So that's the team that we should mention. I mean, shoot, we haven't mentioned that, and I'm sure we'll bring that up in the state championship picks here in a little bit. But Howell, I think we mentioned Grand Rapids Northview already having their first 9-0 season since 1970. I think is what Cannon said. Howell, their first 9-0 season since 1963, so even longer. And Howell, to me, is probably one of the most interesting stories, regardless of division this year, other than Northview. I'd say even more interesting than Northview because Howell, again, hasn't had a 9-0 season since the early 60s, more than 60 years. Hadn't made the playoffs in, I think, 3 years, and comes out of nowhere with this 9-0 season. So they obviously, have something's going right over there. I don't know a lot about the current Howell program. We were talking about how I don't think we were recording yet, but Brett and Kory and I in high school, we used to play against Howell. We actually had a former coach in the early 2010s through the mid 2010s who coached down there, someone from Grand Ledge. So we kind of knew quite a bit about them for a while, but I don't know under the current regime, outside of just some scout film from our school playing Brighton. And so getting some Howell film, but I think it's really cool to see a team like that, and I know that we looked up. I think we saw they do have a kid who's going to Michigan. Brett said defensive end. I'm assuming he plays.
Kanka.
Yeah, I'm sure he plays both ways. So I think that's awesome. Like, good for them. It's really cool to see teams kind of who don't usually have 8-1, 9-0 seasons year after year. To see that kind of success, I think is really, really awesome. Another one in that same realm in Division One is Hudsonville. Hudsonville has had good seasons, but with the OK Red, I think as Kory already mentioned, being such a gauntlet year after year, a conference that tends to beat itself up, to see Hudsonville when traditionally it's Rockford. There's been a few times in recent past where Caledonia or even sometimes in East Kentwood or I know West Ottawa a while ago had a stretch where they were doing very well, but Hudsonville this year 8-1. So I'll be interested to see if they can survive. The problem is the OK Red always gets put into their own little district. So can they survive it again? Can they win 2 more games against 2 teams they've already beaten? So that'll be interesting.
Speaking of Howell, they are the only team that tripped up Hudsonville this year. So it's funny how it's all interconnected.
Week one.
Caledonia missed the playoffs for a while.
So yeah, that's interesting to mention. Something else we can talk about here. Caledonia, had quite a playoff streak. Obviously, Division I state runner-up 2 years ago. Muskegon and Caledonia missed the playoffs. Muskegon had not missed the playoffs since, I believe, 1999. I think what really killed them is they only played 8 games this year. They had a bye week. I think not scheduling that 9th game really killed them because you're not getting any bonus. You're not getting any points, bonus points or win points, whether you win or lose the game. And then Southfield A&T, who won the Division I state champion. So Muskegon and Southfield A&T, the Division I and Division II defending state champs, not even in the playoffs this year. So
You get playoff points from playing out of state.
yeah.
I thought you said you didn't, Vince.
No, not scheduling a game. They only played 8 games. I was just saying not
Yeah, they didn't play-
scheduling
yeah, I
that
get
game hurts them.
Yeah.
In this new playoff format, having a bye week is not a good thing because you're getting no points. So,
That is super unfortunate.
yeah. And I'm sure for Muskegon, it was more of a situation where no one wanted to play them. I'm sure they tried to schedule teams.
Right.
What did they
So,
finish? 6-3 or
3 and 5.
Oh, They don't
They
deserve
had
to be in anyway.
they had a brutal schedule, dude. They had probably. I'd be curious to know off your model, Cannon, Muskegon's schedule. I mean, shoot, they played Zeeland West, they played Rockford, they played Cincinnati Moeller. Were three of their three
Mona
non-conference
Shores,
losses.
Byron Center. I mean, all those teams are solid in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
They have 5
new
good losses.
that new OK conference realignment did not do them any favors, having to go up against the likes of who they had to play.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so listen to this. Zeeland West, who they lost to week 1, went 8-1. Rockford, who they lost to week 2, went 7-2. Obviously, Division 1 school, and they're D2. They lost to Mona Shores, who went 8-1. They lost to Byron Center, who went 8-1. And then Cincinnati Moeller, I know, is quite the powerhouse out of Cincy in Ohio, but I don't know what their record was. But yikes, that's tough. That's tough. Had they
I don't
played
know
a
if
week.
You're having that hard of a schedule. Yeah.
But had they played that week 3 game and beat somebody, I bet they would have gotten in at 4-5. I don't know, but who knows?
Who would have been close?
Mhm.
It would have been, yeah, because I don't think they were really that close to getting in at 3-5. But before we kind of get into our championship picks, anything else you guys want to mention here? I know we kind of already talked about tough districts. If there's a toughest division, anyone wants to predict here, or not predict, but just comment on maybe a division that looks particularly challenging, or a path, maybe a playoff, a state champion favorite that may have a hell of a path getting to a state championship. I guess while you guys are looking or thinking about it, one team that I want to mention really quickly, just because we played against them this year, or 2 teams rather. So DeWitt, who's in our conference, went 9-0. DeWitt won the state championship in 2020 undefeated, and then was state runner-up to MLK in 2021. I personally think this DeWitt team is like that team from 3 and 4 years ago, that 2-year stretch. I think this DeWitt team will go to the state championship. I'd be very shocked if they did not make it. I think a team that could trip them up is they could get tripped up by either Zeeland West. In the Region 2, when they get to the semifinals, could be a tough matchup because they'll either play Grand Rapids Forest Hill Central, who is the defending state champs in Division 3, or Zeeland West. I think one of those 2 teams will be really tough for them in the semis, and then it'll be interesting to see if they match up with Mason or Walled Lake Western or Detroit King or even River Rouge. I don't know who's on the other side. So, but I would not be surprised if DeWitt is in the state championship in D3.
Yeah, Vince, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually have been saying elsewhere that DeWitt is the biggest lock, if you could say that, of any team. I think their odds by the computer is something ridiculous, like 64%, and that's with a 5-game bracket yet left to play.
They're averaging 60 points per game.
Yeah.
Over a 9-game schedule. That's insane.
I'm glad you kind of said that you've witnessed a lot of DeWitt teams on the field, that you kind of sense that, in playing against them, because the computer's just looking at the numbers. So I'm glad you got back.
Watching their offense live, and we held them to 42 points and 35 points on offense. They had a pick 6 against us. So we actually held them well below their average, but still, like, the fact that 42 points was like more than 3 touchdowns, or like 3 touchdowns below their average, is insane. And watching that offense live, they're damn good. It is a very tough team to stop offensively. Very tough team to stop offensively.
Another team that I don't think a lot of people are talking about but is also a huge lock, not a big lock, but like a very big favorite, is Orchard Lake. I don't think a lot of people are giving them credit because the De La Salle loss, and it's like, oh, it could be them, could be De La Salle, that sort of thing. But I think the way kind of the bracket shook out is that Orchard Lake has a very nice path. And so
Orchard Lake is in a district with all 6-3 teams, and then the other district in that region is 6-3 and 5-4 teams, and one 8-1 team. That's the toughest. There's one 8-win team in their entire region. Everyone else has 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah, and so I think they have a great. I mean, not only are they a good team, right? They took every loss that they took was down to the wire to a great team.
Yeah, holy shit, yeah.
I think they have a good path, and you look at the De La Salle score, and that would absolutely be a game if they played. So,
Well, Detroit Catholic Central, who I also got to see live, and is a hell of a team, and I would not be surprised if they're in the D1 state championship. Orchard Lake only lost to them by 5 points.
right. So that's my second biggest lock is Orchard Lake. It's kind of surprising one there because I think they literally had to win against Warren Fitzgerald in week 9 to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I can speak on that a little bit. My uncle is actually the D-backs coach at North Farmington, and they were expecting to be in the district with Groves and Ferndale and Seaholm, and that did not turn out to be the case. So,
Worst case scenario.
yeah.
The fact that North Farmington's the #1 seed and they're playing 4 seed Orchard Lake, that sucks.
That is a terrible draw. That's a terrible draw.
I think potential intriguing matchup in Region 3 at D1. Obviously, Belleville versus Detroit Catholic Central. That would be a really interesting game.
What's sad is that's a regional championship potential matchup, which I'm sure will hold true. Now, again, Belleville and Saline are in the same district, and Saline is 9-0 on the field, 6-3 on paper. So that will be an interesting. That will just be a hell of a different district championship matchup for Belleville and Saline, and then whoever gets out of that likely playing Detroit Catholic Central for the regional championship. So that's a brutal road. In that Region 3 for sure.
Because it'd be interesting to see if Howell kind of painted a picture on how to beat Belleville. I mean, you get what you get with Bryce Underwood, so I wouldn't count them out against anybody. And I could also see them just running to a state title and killing it. But
just milked the clock and kept the ball out of their hands.
They're not a sexy team. Like I watched Howell play. So we're playing Brighton. First round of the playoffs this week, so we have the Howell Brighton game. So I was curious to see that Howell team in action, what they looked like. They don't do anything fancy. They're a straight T team. They'll throw out a couple other random under center formations to kind of mix things up a bit to throw the ball or get some run plays out into the hash or to the field. But they're a very simple team. They're well coached. They play really hard. You know who they remind me of? They kind of remind me of that 2015 Romeo team that no one expected them to beat Kaz Tech. And they were very well coached. They played very hard, and those kids just wanted it more. And I think that was the thing. I think Howell just out-coached them, outplayed them, and I think they just wanted it more. Because they really don't do anything that crazy. They got some really big kids, and they got some, it's community-raised kids that I think have a great coach and, obviously do everything the right way to put together a season like this. And they played at home against Belleville. I think that helped. That Belleville had to go on the road, and Howell had a hell of a crowd. I don't know if you guys saw the State Champs Network clips, but that crowd was like sold out, packed place for that Belleville game. So it was hype. Now, from that emotional high, can Howell carry that for 3-4 more weeks into the playoffs? That's going to be the interesting part to see. A team that has no playoff experience. I don't think there's anyone on that team unless they had a freshman on varsity back in 2021. That was the last time they were in the playoffs. So 0 playoff experience. So I'll be curious to see how that pans out for them.
Hannon, what do you think about D6 in general? I know D6 gets a little weird just because they end up playing a lot of D7, potentially D8 teams, but you got 2 9-0 teams, 6-8-1 teams, a boatload of 7-2, 6-3s, like top to bottom, record wise. It looks really competitive, but it obviously could be inflated. You see anything about that?
I think it's really Lumens to lose. Now it's kind of interesting. A lot of people will tell you it's Lumens to lose, but I think this Helmont team can hang with them. So we'll see there. But I would say Lumen, and then if it's not Lumen, I would be very surprised if it's anyone but Helmont. So now there's a big cast of characters below that are like having great seasons that can absolutely, make the semis or sneak into the final against Lumen. But I would be surprised if there's another team beside, there's Lumen and another team. I would be surprised if both teams are not Lumen at the end of the day. So I think Lumen's definitely in the final, and I would bet on Lumen as the champ.
I mean, we've seen, what was it, a 4-win LCC team make it to the state title before. So
No, they went to the regional championship. You're talking about
Okay.
2 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were 4
I
and
thought
5.
they-
Yeah, and went to the regional
Yeah.
championship.
Yeah.
Because I remember you were real hot that they even got into the
Yeah. They should've
playoffs,
got in.
and now you got 3 and 6 teams in many divisions getting in just because there's no one else to put in. Like if you just like every year, I went through to look and see how many teams with winning records even missed the playoffs. There's some divisions where every team with a winning record got in. Now there's some where like Division Two, where Marquette, who was 6 and 3, missed, right? And like Division One, Loy Norix was the only team with a winning record at 5 and 4 who missed. Now they played a bunch of smaller schools, so that one makes sense to me. But for the most part, you have to in the modern era of playoffs, you got to have teams with losing records in because there's fewer 11-man schools that play football than ever before. So there's no one else to put in. One last region I want to point out here before we get to state championship picks, unless anyone wants to add anything else. I want to draw your guys' attention to Division 8, Region 2. I think Region 2 and Division 8 might also be one of the absolute hardest regions in the entire playoff field, regardless of division. You have 9-0 Fowler as the number 1 seed in that District 1. You have Saginaw Novell Catholic 8-1 in District 1, also as the number 2 seed. Then in that District 2, you have Clarkston Everest Collegiate 8-1, the 1 seed. Harbor Beach 9-0, the 2 seed. So all 4 of those teams are in the same region. 2 9-0 teams and 2 8-1 teams. So I think that is a very tough region. Whereas in the rest of the entire playoff field, there's only 2 other 8-1 teams or 3 other 8-1 teams and 1 9-0 team. And in that region, you have 2 9-0s, 2 8-1s. So I think whoever comes out of Region 2 in Division 8 comes out of that alive. Very good pick to win the state championship, or at least get there. Because I also think there's no one on the other side quite as talented or quite as noteworthy as that region. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into the state championship picks here. We are going to start with Division 8. We will pick, just like the last few years, we will pick our 4 semifinal teams and our champion amongst those 4 teams. We're going to start with Division 8, and we'll start with Tate, and we'll just work our way across and all the way up.
All right, let's get it. So for Division 8, my final 4 will consist of Clarkston Everest Collegiate over Beale City and Riverview Gabriel Richard over White Pigeon, with Riverview Gabriel Richard taking home the D8 crown.
Ooh.
Riverview Gabriel Richard. I never even heard of that school.
Really?
There used to be Ann Arbor Gabriel Richard.
There's 2 of them. Yeah.
Sometimes they play. It's the battle of the Gabe Richards.
They played this year. They did play this year.
Actually, I can just do this.
The Gabe
Steel
Richards.
City. White
There you go. Don't really know anything about any of these schools, but it looks like I'm picking maybe a little bit of an upset based on what Mr. Goosepoop kind of
Mr.
went over with his D8 brief breakdown.
All right, Vince, who you got?
Oh, it's you next. It's Bart.
Oh, it is me. All
Right
right. Well,
next.
I got Maple City, Glen Lake.
Isn't that where what's his name? The quarterback from Grand Valley, isn't he from there?
Yeah. Well, he graduated. Yeah, that's where he was.
What?
He
Yeah, the
was
quarterback
from Lake
last year.
City, and then he went to Maple City, Glen Lake. He transferred there.
Yeah, had him on the podcast.
Yeah. And then I have them playing Clarkston Everest Collegiate, like Tate. And then widen that a little bit. And then they will be playing the winners of we'll go
Dead
with
air.
Detroit
Dead air.
Royal.
Dead air. Dead air. You like that?
Detroit Royal
Does it make it less
versus,
dead, or it's like a?
we'll go
You
with
saying that's like reanimating a dead corpse is just like it's still kind of dead, but maybe it's walking around.
Cater.
Decatur.
And let's just say you are.
I was going to say, I thought it was just you. There you go. Who's your state
I'm gonna
champion?
say Clarkson Everest Collegiate winning it all.
Look
They're
at
a solid
you.
team year in and year out. Mostly almost 9 wins every single year at minimum the last decade. It's my brother-in-law's cousin that coaches the team, so
Look at you.
Clarkson Everest. Kory, what about you?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Give me Maple City Glen Lake and Fowler. And give me Clarkston Everest Collegiate and Decatur. Oh, wait. Hold on. Am I in the wrong?
Oh, you're picking teams from the same region.
You're good. You're good. Okay. So give me Maple City Glen Lake and Fowler. Sorry, I was looking
You
at
can
the
pick
website.
him if you want.
And then give me Decatur and Riverview Gabriel Richard. And then I'm going to take Fowler as the champion.
Ooh, they haven't won a state title in a minute.
The Fighting Kennex.
Yeah, Tate's brother-in-law is from there.
Hell yeah.
All right,
Double
Finch.
Well, I got a funny story about Fowler and P-Dub. I
Shoot.
went to this wedding where the kid was from Puamo, Westphalia. And I guess at the rehearsal dinner was the Friday night of the Puamo, Westphalia Fowler game. And so like and the bride like wasn't aware of like that this was gonna happen, but I guess like at the rehearsal dinner all the boys got out like a big projector and like we're playing the Puamo, Westphalia Fowler game.
That's incredible.
And my wife was telling me the story because it was my wife's friend, and she was like, "Yeah," and they were playing this, and like she was really surprised, and I was like, "Hannah, it's the Puamo Westphalia Fowler game, and they were both like 7.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal,
It is
right?
such a big deal. It is. Oh yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, that's a cool rivalry between those two schools. All right, my turn, correct?
Yep.
I'm going to go with a UP team here. I want Iron Mountain. Give me Iron Mountain in Region 1. I'm always rooting for those UP teams. Would love to see one. I was so mad Menominee didn't win it last year. And then
Is
give
that
me...
for Tom Izzo, Vince?
Huh?
Is this pick for Tom Izzo?
Oh, yeah, I forgot he did go to high school. Isn't that where he went to high school? Yeah, he's from Iron Mountain. No, I just, it's pretty cool to see, obviously there's 3 teams in that district, but, Iron Mountain had a hell of a year, beat a really good Negaunee team, who made a run last year. But, I'm going to go with Iron Mountain. Hopefully they can make some noise in the playoffs. And then I'm going to pick Fowler as well. I think they're going to have a hell of a path to get out of there. And I think... who I still will say that whoever wins that region, if it's not Fowler, if it is Clarkson Everest or Harbor Beach or Saginaw Valley Catholic, I think that team, very good shot at winning the state championship. I will also pick Decatur. They got beat by White Pigeon, so I don't think they'll get beat by him a second time. And then I am going to pick Riverview Gabriel Richard out of that final region there.
Who's the first one you said, Decatur?
So I got Iron Mountain, Fowler, Decatur, and Riverview Gabriel Richard for my 4 teams for Division 8. And I'm going to go with Fowler. I'm going to pick Fowler to win a state championship.
The Eagles. Mr. Goose.
All right, I got Iron Mountain. Nobody. You guys know this? Last year, at least, Division 8 runs through the thumb. All right, guys, and nobody here seems to believe that.
The thumb, hell yeah.
Harbor Beach. All right,
they're good.
I know Harbor Beach. They're gonna be there. And then I got White Pigeon. Although I could see. I can hear the Nickelback being played over the radio. I could see 2002 running back, and I could see Decatur making a state final here. I could see that, right? That happened back in 2002. Funny enough, Decatur played Mendon in a state final in 2002. I don't exactly know. How does the map shake out to make that possible? I always think Decatur and Mendon are kind of close to each other. So, but I don't have Decatur. No, Decatur can't play White Pigeon in a final. That's like a quarter. But I'm saying that could happen. And then I've got, actually, this is a strange one. Petersburg Summerfield is my pick.
I was looking at them, yeah.
So I don't think they've ever made it that far. They can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have ever made it that far. So
It's not a school that I was familiar with either. I saw their only loss was to Decatur by 3 points. So
they're doing. Here's a fun fact about them. Erie Mason and Ottawa Lake Whiteford are doing the opposite of what the Catholic League did last year. Next year, they are playing in an Ohio League next year.
really,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. They just dissolved their league. It was just those 3 teams, and they said we're gonna go join. There's a bunch of like D8 schools right along the border, so they're all gonna play in the same league.
Good for them. It's not a bad idea with the trend to 8-man football. It's harder and harder to find 11-man teams. But
Yeah, Menden was a solid team. I think they're 8-man now.
they are 8-man.
Really solid program.
Cannon, who's your state champion?
Champ.
My Champs Harbor Beach guys. D8 runs through the thumb.
All right. You heard it here first. The thumb.
The thumb.
The thumb. All right, you're
right.
doubling up. Cannon's
Yeah,
Division
we'll do a
7.
snake draft.
D7's kind of, I call D7 like the most balanced division, in that I think the bracket's perfectly set up to where my top 4 teams will all make the semis. So I have Menominee, Ithaca, Hudson, and Monroe St. Mary's Catholic Central. I think this is the year that Menominee wins it all. They got very close last year. That will break an 11-man UP title drought that's been going on since 2016. So Ishpeming, who now plays an 8 player, was the last UP team to win an 11-man title back in 2016.
The Hematites. I remember watching that game.
The Hematites. All right. Wait, did you say your state champion?
Yeah, it's my
you said
champ.
Menominee. Yeah, it's your state champ. All right.
Spelled that wrong.
So my turn then. I know, Brett, I think you're still typing, though. I don't want to. You ready for me?
I'm ready for you. What you got?
All right. I am also going to. Man, that Region 1 in Division 7 is a tough one. McBain and North Muskegon are in there, too, and those are really good schools. I think I'm also going to go with Menominee, partly because I also want to see a UP team win it all. And, yeah, they were in it last year. They got to be a little pissed off, and now Lumen Christi's up in D6, so they don't have to worry about Lumen Christi anymore. Although there's another Catholic school I'll get to in a second here they might have to worry about in the state championship. In Region 2, I'll go with Ithaca. So I got Menominee. I got Ithaca. I think it's been a while since an Ithaca team's reached the semifinals. I think they got a fairly favorable region to do it this year, although Millington 8-0 will be tough. And Plum Westphalia, who is 7-2, but still lost 2 very close stick games by 4 total points to Fowler and Lansing Catholic. So, again, going with Ithaca, though, from that region. Region 3... Let's go with Hudson, a traditional powerhouse for a long time. Their only loss is to Fowler week 1. They've been kind of rolling since. I'm going to go with Hudson in that Region 3. And then Region 4, I'm going to go with one of the other 9-0 teams from this bracket, and this is who I think Menominee will have to beat. I'm going to go with Monroe St. Mary Catholic. I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen Monroe St. Mary Catholic in a state championship.
Who you got for your champ?
I'm going to go with Menominee. I think they're a little hungry, a little angry, a little pissed off from losing to Lumen Christi last year in the state title. A very close game, if I remember. I think they only lost by maybe a touchdown. They lost by 4 points. Came up short by 4 points. So, yeah, I'm going to have Menominee winning the whole thing.
All right, Kory, who you got in your semis?
All right, my semis, I'm going to ditto vent. So I got Menominee, Ithaca, Hudson, Monroe, St. Mary Catholic. And
that's also who Goosepoop picked, too. So we're all, I know, I just realized I picked all the same picks. I didn't even realize it until I looked at it.
I'm going to go with Monroe, St. Mary Catholic to bring it home. I just think they're battle tested. They got a strong program.
But there is something to be said that Division 7, like Cannon said, pretty balanced. I feel like Division 7 has its powers, and I feel like Division 7 and 8 tend to be 2 of the more interesting divisions, I feel like, over the last couple of years in terms of the teams that seem to make runs. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. Like, I guess my point is the teams that dominate during the regular season continue to set that streak or that standard. If they don't get unfortunate district pairings, which some of them have, but.
All right. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I am going to have Traverse City St. Francis.
Oh, okay. Oh. The Bola boys. Is there another Bola boy there?
Might be a Bola grandkid now. And I like them to play Millington. Millington and Ithaca play a lot of the same teams. Millington with a little bit stronger of a resume there.
The Fighting Cam Wilson.
The Fighting Cam Wilson. And then on the other side, I'd like to see Hudson. I had the same exact as the other guys, Hudson and Monroe St. Mary's Catholic Central.
I just think those two stand out.
Yeah, and I will go Monroe St. Mary's Catholic Central.
Before we get our next picks, I just want to shout out really quickly Leslie in Division 7, their best season in a long time. I don't think they'd even qualified there for the playoffs since like 2012, and they're 8-1. So good for them. That's pretty cool.
Shout out to Leslie.
So I've got a little bit of a mix-up in at least the first half of this semis. I've got North Muskegon over PW, over Palamo, Westphalia, and then...
That'd be a rematch, wouldn't it, from last year?
Would it?
Like a 4-time rematch. I feel like
they played in the regional championship last year. They got beat. It was a 1-point game, so that'd be a fun one to see.
And then following suit, I've got Monroe St. Mary Catholic over Hudson, with Monroe St. Mary Catholic taking home the D7 crown. So a lot of Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central love for D7.
That or Menominee.
All right, let's spin it up to D6. I've got Reed City over Newaygo on one side of the bracket. And then I've got Lumen Christi over Warren Michigan Collegiate on the other side, with Lumen Christi taking home the title.
Dead air.
And moving for me, D6, I got Kingsley coming back to the state title from last year. They lost in the state title game last year. And that pop up. Kingsley. And I have Kingsley playing Almont. Another thumb team. Championships go thumb.
The thumb.
And I used to live on Almont Street too. And at the bottom side of the bracket, I got Jackson and Crispy and Marine City.
Marine City.
We haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, Marine City, traditional power that I feel like we haven't talked about much.
And I got Jackson and Christie winning it all too. Kory.
All right, I'm going to go Standish Sterling versus Almont in the semi. And then I'm going to take Jackson Lumen Christie versus War Michigan Collegiate. And I think Almont's going to upset a little bit. I think they're going to win a state title.
Ooh.
Take it to the Catholic boys. Very different dynamic, I'm assuming, between Almont and JLC. Very different demographics in the community.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good matchup.
Hi, Finch.
Man, that region 1 is a tough one. Oh man, who do I want to pick out of there? I might mix it up a little bit from that region 1. I feel like you got a lot of 5, 6, 7 win teams. The only 8-win team happens to be a 2 seed in their district, that Mason County Central, and their only loss is to North Muskegon. And they played them to a 2-score game. So I'm going to go with Mason County Central. We'll see if they can make a little run here. If they got some, they've been scoring some pretty good points this year.
Maize and blue Spartan logo, that just doesn't look right.
That is weird. That's a very weird helmet that they're rocking. Way up north there. Way up north. So yeah, I'm gonna go Mason County. So for D6, I got Mason County Central. Let's also go with Almont. I'm gonna go with Jackson Lumen Christie. I'm also gonna pick Warren Michigan Collegiate. And I'm also going to go with Lumen Christie running it back. I think they are a damn good team again, and I'd be shocked if they did not win the whole thing a second year in a row. Or would that be a three? How many years in a row have they won it now? This would be a third year in a row? Third year in a row.
All right, Cannon, what do you got?
So my D6 picks, I have Standish Sterling, although I think a lot of different teams could make it in that quadrant. I've got Almont, I've got Lumen Christie, and I've got Marine City.
Mm.
Oh, am I the first person to pick Marine City, huh? Yeah, so
I did.
Marine City's actually the what my website has is the favorite. So
I never. I said
uh,
Marine City, but I didn't type it in.
that quadrant. Then I have Lumen as the champ, but I think Almont can hang with them. So
Almost a unanimous division for us. Kory was the only one.
I think it's a good value pick, Kory. Not a lot of people picking.
I don't think he's
Probably
yeah.
plus 150. Plus 150 for them.
I would love to see it. I'd love to see it. But Lumen Christie is that's going to be a tough one. Damn good team. All right, Mr. Poop, following up with D5.
We're snaking back. So this D5 is super interesting because you have four extremely strong teams at the top. Three are familiar faces. West Catholic, Notre Dame Prep, and Frankenmuth were all near the top last year. But one that's a fresh face is Almont's counterpart, their rival in the BWAC. A conference.
BWAC.
Some people call it the little SEC. Armada. So
okay.
Armada, very good team. I could absolutely see them make the semis, make the finals, win it all, honestly. However, I don't have them doing that. So I actually have Frankenmuth, West Catholic, Notre Dame Prep, and then Flat Rock would be my last one. Flat Rock kind of gets that easier quadrant that kind of forms a lot in D5, so that there's just that quadrant isn't as up to snuff as some of the other quadrants usually. I have Notre Dame Prep taking it all, but honestly, guys, I could see, I really won't be surprised if they win it. West Catholic wins it, Frankenmuth wins it, Armada wins it. So,
All right, there you have it, Vince.
Region 1, Division 5, I'm also going to pick Frankenmuth. I think, man, they've had a hell of a run, and I think this could be their year to finally break through and win a state title because West Catholic, although they're 6-3, three very tough losses. But Grand Rapids Catholic Central seems to be Frankenmuth's nemesis a lot of times, is 5-4 this year, lost 3 straight games to end the year. Now, again, some tough teams, but that region is tough to pick. Let's go with, I'm gonna also take West Catholic, Grand Rapids West Catholic out of that second region there. Maybe a little hungry after coming up short in the regional last year to Grand Rapids Catholic Central by 2 points. So yeah, we'll go Frankenmuth. We'll go GR West Catholic. I'm going to pick another Catholic school. I do like the Armada pick that Cannon was mentioning, but I'm going to go with Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. I think they played a hell of a schedule this year. Jeez, I mean, you look through their schedule, beat some really good teams, played some really good teams, been just putting up points. And then the last region there, that's kind of a crapshoot. Man. Let's go with Flat Rock as well. I'm going to copy Cannon on that one and take Flat Rock. I think they've played the toughest schedule out of some of the teams in that region. And my champion, I'm going to go with Frankenmuth. I'm going to go with Frankenmuth finally breaking through and winning a state title. How many times have they been semifinalists or state runner-up over and over again? I think maybe this is their year to finally break through. I think they get past maybe one or two Catholic schools to finally win the whole thing, especially after losing on that last second field goal to Gladwin. Was that 2 years ago?
Yes.
Brutal finish that year. After I thought they were going to make it that year, make it through that year.
So I'm going to mirror Vince exactly. I think Frankenmuth gets over West Catholic. I think they meet Pontiac Notre Dame Prep in the state title. Frankenmuth's
Yep.
been to two of the last five state titles with one close loss and one blowout loss to a Catholic school. I think they finally get it done.
They've been blown out by Grand Rapids Catholic Central 3 times in the last 4 years. I feel for them, man. I think it might be their year to finally break through.
All right. As much as I like to pick Kingsford and have another UP team in the mix here, I think the Frankenmuth and West Catholic are both going to make it in. West Catholic has played a pretty tough schedule all year. Most of the schools that they've played are larger than them, and they've either won or lost in a close battle. And then on the bottom side, I got Pontiac Notre Dame Prep as well. D5 seems like it's pretty one-sided. And then I will change it up, and I will have
That region's tough. That region 4,
yeah.
because it's tempting to go with the 9-0 team, but I don't think that Detroit Lincoln King played anybody.
No, then I'm gonna have Romulus Summit Academy North.
I guess I take it back for anyone who may be offended. Detroit Lincoln King did beat a Detroit Old Redford team that went 8-1, so that's a decent win.
And then I'll keep it going and the Frankenmuth winning it all. I realize if I picked anyone else in my semis, it was not going to be a public school, and I'd be all private schools so far.
I have to interrupt. I had Sam Houston State minus 10.5, and they just backdoored for a 3-team parlay win for $80.
Well done.
Look at you.
40 seconds left. They just strip sack the quarterback and return to 80 yards. Big man touchdown.
Big man touchdown.
Is that what you're excited about?
I was just watching that happen in complete silence. Like,
All right, Tate Baker.
D5.
Alrighty, I've got I've got West Catholic over Belding, who's gonna take down Frankenmuth in District 2 Region 1.
Oh,
A little upset special. And then on the other side of the bracket, I've got Notre Dame Prep over Ann Arbor Father Gabriel Richard. I didn't realize I had two Gabriel Richards in the same pool of picks here, but we're going with it. And then winning it all, I will take Pontiac Notre Dame Prep.
yeah, they're damn good.
All right, snaking back around. D4.
D4. I'm excited for the potential of what could be in D4. I'm going to go with Unity Christian over Harper Creek. And then on the other side, I will take Chelsea over Harper Woods.
Ooh.
And I don't know if you guys remember what was probably the most improbable state championship comeback that I can remember. I think Unity Christian is finally going to get revenge. Avenge that just utter collapse that happened. What was that, 2021 or earlier? I can't remember.
Oh, that was right. 2021.
Unity Christian's going to take home the D4 state championship.
Maybe one of the craziest state championship games I've ever seen.
It was nuts.
All right, I'm going to have Hudsonville Unity Christian versus Portland. Hudsonville Unity Christian has just been absolutely rolling people. Really good teams.
Which is crazy. They missed the playoffs last year after their hell of a streak.
And then
They're back.
the backside, I'm going to go with
Dead air.
I'm going to go with Goodrich and Harper Woods. with Hudsonville Unity Christian being the champ.
Hudsonville Unity Christian.
Hey, Kory.
All right, I'm gonna go Hudsonville Unity Christian in Portland, Chelsea and
Aha.
Harper Woods, and I'm gonna take Unity Christian to get another title under their belt. Or did they lose that one? They lost that one to
Yeah, they
Chelsea.
blew it.
Yeah.
All right, Vince.
Oh my God, they called it an incomplete pass and it didn't recover.
I am gonna get in that region when I'm also gonna pick Hudsonville Unity Christian. Man, Region 2. Partially want to pick Portland, but I'm also kind of looking at Paw here. Man, that is a tough decision. I think I'm gonna go with Portland. I'm gonna go with Portland out of that Region 2. So yeah, give me Hudsonville Unity Christian, Region 1. Give me Portland, Region 2. Region 3. I think I'm gonna break the Chelsea pick up here. I think Chelsea and Goodrich meet in the regional championship, and I'm gonna pick Goodrich to get back into the semis here after they made a run to the right in the semis last year. They were in the state title 2 years ago. Region 4. Let's get Harper Woods. They were the defending state champs. They played a hell of a schedule again this year. I got Harper Woods back in the semis again this year. And let's go Hudsonville Unity Christian. I think wins it over either Goodrich or Harper Woods. I think whoever wins that game is going to get beat by Unity Christian.
All right, Goose, you gonna keep it rolling or change it up?
I'm gonna recuse myself from the D4 picks. So just not gonna pick D4.
Your Chelsea bias.
Yeah, that's just too much. So you don't want to be overwhelmed
Are you
by that.
are you
I
gonna
have
get
Chelsea in every quadrant somehow. So I just so
we
my
shall see.
no, it's Go Dogs. That's what it is.
Go Dogs. Aren't you just making these picks off your computer, your algorithm though, your computer?
Yeah, that's true. What does my computer say? You can put those in there.
If it has Chelsea in there, oh boy.
It doesn't. That's the thing.
Oh. So does that make you feel bad that your computer doesn't have
Well,
them
I'm
in
just
there?
bad, bro. My dad's just gonna give me shit.
You're getting the man in trouble, Vince.
Yeah. Unity, Niles, Goodrich, and in the bottom, I think is Harper Woods. That's what you would say. That's kind of a weak quadrant again. So
Who's the champ?
and then Unity would be the champ.
Unanimous, our first unanimous division, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you guys ready to have 6 private schools win the 8 championships?
I think it could happen. I think it could happen this year.
Absolutely could happen. Private schools are favorites in 5 divisions.
I would not be surprised if more.
Could take 6.
I would not be surprised if more than half of the state champs this year are private schools, and that will just really stir up the conversation about private schools again. Because I think only 3 won last year, right? I think it was 3 last year.
Yeah, it was not that big. So I, for one, don't really care. It's but I do love the commentary that gets stirred up. So.
Oh, the controversy, baby. Oh boy! I'm gonna go ahead and jump us right back into it with Division 3. Who you got?
All right, so my D3 picks, I wrote them down here. D3 is actually kind of what I call the boring division, because of just how clear the favorite is, which is DeWitt. So I don't know if people saw my stat I put out, but I have them winning in like 64% of scenarios right now. So I have DeWitt and Zeeland West on one side, although I could very well see a St. Joe making the semi against DeWitt.
Yep.
Or there's another team there too that's very competitive, maybe like Coopersville or something. And then I have Walled Lake Western in MLK. Walled Lake Western, you could swap out Mason very easily. I think that'll be a great game when they play
Yeah.
each other again. They've already played each other once. It was a great game. And then King is kind of in that quadrant that you see in D5, and even a little bit in D4. That's just kind of not as quite as good as the rest of the quadrant. So I don't think this is King's has a good team this year. I don't think it's one of the better King teams. So I think they'll make the semi still, but I don't know if it's like the King teams of semis past. So
And then DeWitt was your state champ?
yeah, DeWitt's my state champ.
Excuse me,
All right,
sorry.
Vince.
You can already pencil in DeWitt for my state champ. I just think they're hands down one of the best teams in all of high school football this year, regardless of division. So I got them win the state title. I think they will have a hell of a battle though. With I'm going to go with Zeeland West out of that region too, and I think St. Joseph and Zeeland West are going to have a hell of a battle in that district title game. But let's go with DeWitt and Zeeland West. Region 1, Region 2. Region 3, I'm going to go with Mason just because Walled Lake Western just beat Mason a couple weeks ago by 3 points. So they already got their revenge, so to speak, for losing to them twice last year. That's going to be so tough for them to get revenge, quote unquote, a second time. So hard to be a team twice. So I'm going to go with Mason. And then let's go with King in the other region as well. And we're going to have a rematch of King and Mason for the 4th straight year. Would that be 4 years in a row that King and Mason would play in the semis, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to see. God, it would be cool to see a Mason-DeWitt state title game. A rematch of week 2, I think. I think they played week 2. So that would be a cool rematch for the state title.
When's the last time, if ever, that two Lansing teams have played each other in the final?
I don't think ever.
Probably never.
I don't think that's ever happened.
On trivia right there. I don't know either. So
All right, I'm gonna also ride the DeWitt train. I think FHC gets back just because a lot of those kids experienced that last year, and then it'll be a Mason MLK rematch in the semis. I'm gonna take DeWitt to win it all. I think they play Mason in the state title.
All right. I am going to go same as Vince. Mirror image of Vince with DeWitt versus Zeeland West and then Mason versus Detroit MLK.
I do like Kory's pick for Forest Hill Central as they were the defending state champs, but I guess we'll see how that plays out.
It is a good pick, although Zeeland West is just a really tough team.
But my philosophy of beating a team twice is that is one of Forest Hill Central's losses is the Zeeland West.
They smacked them though.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So I'd be curious, if they could beat him a second time like that.
They lost by 3 scores.
Yeah.
All right, Tate, what do you got?
I had the same exact Final Four and champ as Mr. Goose. I don't have any data to back this up, but I feel like D3 has been kind of the more consistent of the brand names in the last decade or so. I would not be surprised. Well, I'd be surprised, but I think that Zeeland West DeWitt semifinal game is going to be an interesting matchup of two completely different brands of football. I feel like, Zeeland West has the ability to grind it out, and they can make life very difficult for DeWitt and put them in a situation where they haven't necessarily been in before. So that game I'll have circled if we do end up getting that game in a semi. But I've got DeWitt taking home the championship.
USC versus Iowa.
Essentially, yes. D2. I've got another okay team. Byron Center knocking off East Lansing in one semi, and then in the other semi, a little bias showing, but I've got Groves over North Farmington, with Groves taking home the state championship.
You got their tackle going to Michigan next year.
Yes, sir.
All right. I like Byron Center. I like that pick, Tate, but I don't think that they're going to beat Mona Shores. Tate and I went to the Byron Center Caledonia game last year. Logan Tungate and the wide receiver Isaac Lee. That's quite the combination. And I think that they will face off against East Lansing as well. And then on the bottom side of the bracket, I'll go with Birmingham Groves as well, coming out of Region 4, and they will be playing Allen Park.
The Fighting Adam Gillicks.
The Jaguars. And I got Mona Shores winning it all. Kory.
All right. I'm going to go Muskegon Mona Shores and Dexter. And then Gibraltar Carlson versus Grosse Pointe South. And I'm going to take Grosse Pointe South to win it all.
I love that Kory went with like completely different picks, but I mean, that's kind of D2. I feel like D2 is, other than De La Salle, who's had some dominant stretches, that I feel like a lot of the semis outside of De La Salle, you get a lot of different teams in D2, I feel like, making runs. And the defending state champs are not in it this year, Muskegon's not in it.
Yeah, it's bold to pick against the Catholic schools, but
it is.
Somebody's got to.
It is.
All right, Vince, who you got?
I'm going to go with Byron Center. I think they get revenge in the district championship for their loss to Mona Shores. I think they take. I bet that's going to be a hell of a game, man. That district title game. So let's go Byron Center. I also got East Lansing going back to the semis. I think they're going to have a hell of a matchup with Dexter in their district championship. But yeah, let's take East Lansing going back to the semis for a second straight year. And I'm going to go with Orchard Lake. Cannon pointing that out early on, I think was a really good observation. That Orchard Lake has 3 really tough losses to very good teams closely. So yeah, and then the last region, let's get Groves. 2 9-0 teams in that region with Grosse Pointe South too, and De La Salle will be tough. But I like Birmingham Groves. They've been a favorite over the last couple years for a lot of people. So yeah, Byron Center, East Lansing, Orchard Lake, Groves. For my state champion, let's go with Birmingham Groves. Let's have Groves win the whole thing.
All right, Goose.
So I have Mona versus East Lansing.
Mona, hardly knew her.
So I think that quadrant. I think you could see a number of teams on either side. I agree. Then I have Orchard Lake, and in Grosse Pointe South.
Look at you.
And we were talking about very tough draws at the beginning. How about this Grosse Pointe South draw? They got to play Roseville. I have Roseville rated as the number 5 team. So undefeated number 2 team, GPS, pulls number 5 Roseville, team they beat by a couple scores already. But, I have it as a 5-point spread going in.
Roseville also beat West Bloomfield and Romeo.
Yeah. So I think Roseville's very good. So, that's just a very tough draw.
Yeah.
Way. And then that's tough. That's tough down there. Then you're going to run into De La Salle and then Orchard Lake. So that's just like a very, very tough draw for the East Side teams in D2.
100%.
That's
a tough region.
Orchard Lake.
Going with the Catholic school. Cannon has picked 4 Catholic schools, and I bet he'll pick another one here in a second.
I'm about to pick 5.
Pick a 5th Catholic school. Well, I'm about to
jump
do the
to
same
it. So D1.
The big dogs.
I have Hudsonville And then Davison, but I'm going to tell you, I don't think you should really even put any money on anybody coming out of that second quadrant
Yeah,
there.
Region 2 is a crapshoot in Division 1. I don't
They're
know who's
all
going to come out of it.
good. They're all about the same. They've all kind of beat each other. So it's I'm very interested. Davison would be my pick, but I don't feel good about it. And then I have DCC in Dakota in the bottom.
And DCC winning it all.
I do. Yep. 15 years. It's been 15 years since DCC won it all.
Yeah. I had friends, teammates at Hillsdale who were on that team.
Way to age yourself.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
no. All right. Division 1 here. Let's also go with Hudsonville. Man, if Hudsonville is not able to get out of that district, I think it's Howell. But Hudsonville's playing very well, about as well as anyone I think in Division 1. So, yeah, let's do it. Let's have Hudsonville. Let's go. But I could also see Rockford sneaking out of that region. God, Region 2. Division 1's going to be fun, man. At least these other 3 divisions, or these other 3. Actually, every region I think is going to be fun to watch. Let's also go Davison. A lot of experience. Was in the semis last year. Davison team that's a little hungry after getting beat up on by Belleville. So yeah, we'll go Hudsonville. We'll go Davison. Man, that Detroit Catholic Central Belleville game, I'm anticipating that'll be the regional championship game. I think whoever wins that wins it all, and I'm going to pick Detroit Catholic Central. I think Belleville's proven they're beatable. And the final region, oh, man, another tough one. I think I'll go Macomb, Dakota, too. They just seem to be flat out the most proven team, although Utica Eisenhower, not a bad pick. They got beat up on by Clarkston pretty good week 9, but yeah, let's do that. And then my champion, I think I'm also going to pick Detroit Catholic Central. I think they're pretty damn good. I could see them winning their first state title in 15 years.
All right, Kory.
All right, I'm going to believe the hype with Howell, and I'm going to have them playing Davison as well. And then DCC Macomb, Dakota, and I think DCC brings it home. I mean, if they meet Howell in the state title, it's really like Howell's like the poor man's DCC when you're talking like physicality, burning clock, running a goofy offense. So I'm gonna go with DCC.
So I have, I think Rockford's going to be Hudsonville in a rematch in round 2 of District 1. And then I think Rockford's actually going to be Howell too.
Oh, nice.
So
I could see that happening. Rockford, yeah, for sure. Maybe
Rockford,
a little.
their losses are close games. You know, they're on the road. But so I can see them advancing. And then as much as I'd like
Jennison beat Rockford on Rockford's homecoming.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
a lot of distractions in that game.
Uh-huh.
And then as much as I'd like to pick Davison, I think I'm going to pick Grand Blanc. They've already beat Davison once. They put up some serious points. Lost the last one to Romeo, but I think they're gonna advance. And then on the other side of the bracket, I have Detroit Catholic Central. And then I'm going to pick Eisenhower.
Utica. The Ikes. Picking the
I think he broke
Ikes.
his leg. His leg is definitely broken.
Yeah, he's definitely not coming back in the game.
And Detroit Catholic Central.
DCC.
All right.
Last but not least, of similar mindset with Brett, I think we're going to see a rematch of the 2021. Can't remember if it was a regional or a semi, but I've got Grand Blanc knocking off Rockford again. And then on the other side of the bracket, I'll take Detroit Catholic Central over Macomb, Dakota, with the Shamrocks taking home the championship.
Wow, what a boring selection. This is probably the most straight line bets I've seen.
Something while we're sitting here kind of looking at the table, obviously D1, D3, D4 unanimous state championship picks, not unanimous semifinals, which I think is Division 1 was pretty close. We were real close to having unanimous even semifinals. Even D3 in some respect was pretty close. I do want to point out that D8 and D2 had our most variety, where we had 4 different champions picked in both D2 and D8. We did not have 5 different champions in any single one. I think was interesting, but do have 4. Or actually, D2 is only 3 different champions. We have 3 different champions. 4, right? Orchard Lake, Grosse Pointe South. Yeah, 4 different champions in D2, and then D8 we also had 4 different champions picked. So we'll be curious to see how many of these picks that we get right. We'll add up our semifinal picks and our state championship picks once we get there, and kind of keep track week by week who loses teams. So no promise, no promise that we will be back on anytime soon for another episode. But obviously, we hope to do another episode soon, but who knows? Ken already kind of mentioned that he'd be interested in coming back on for our, either state championship preview and or state championship, kind of follow up. We did not do a state championship follow up last year. That was our last one, was a state championship preview episode. So I guess we'll see what we do here. But
whoever gets the most picks gets free beer at Confluxity.
Oh, okay, there it is. I was wondering what we were gonna do.
Okay.
The most correct picks get some free beer at the brewery of our choice when we meet up in TBD. So,
Vince, you still have to do your beer mile as punishment from last regular season.
I know we never did that, did we? Could do it on my street because it's a perfect mile to run one straight way down my road.
Oh, so it's a sprint. All right.
You have to drink 4 beers, 1 beer lap.
Well, if it's on a road, though, you just have to partition off every quarter mile.
Then you got to make sure
Wow,
we're there.
that's just some phenomenal math at 11:36 at night.
Thanks.
All right. What's that?
I said I'm so tired.
I know. I'm tired too. All right, yeah, it's after 11:30 at night here on this beautiful Tuesday night. We will have this episode hopefully up on Thursday would be the plan, so that people can listen, watch, enjoy our thoughts going into the playoff games on Friday. Gentlemen, any last words?
Eat my dust.
It was fun. We got to get back together. We're all dragging. The energy is low right now, but we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up.
Hey.
It's like first show jitters, we went a year without filming, so
It's knowing I'm going to be woken up in 6 hours from a screaming 2-month-old.
Have fun with that. Hey, it's Michigan high school playoffs, baby. High school football playoffs. It's an exciting time of the year. So college football and NFL are getting fun, getting good too. So we're excited for that. But all right, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Hopefully you enjoy the episode. It will be out here very soon when you're listening to it. Thank you. Thanks for checking it out. And we will see you in the next episode, whenever that may be. Great Lakes State Football. I'm Vince, Kory, Brett, Tate, and our good friend Cannon and Dean, a.k.a. Goosepoop, episode 52.
We got a zoo going on here. We got cats and dogs and bats.
Oh, my.